Alright, let's get this done and out of here. Man, what a week. What a week it has been. Alright, look at this. Look at all this paper. It's a lot of paper. Welcome to week 12. We are here in beautiful Oklahoma. Beautiful day it's been today. A bit windy, but a bit chilly, but it's pretty normal for Oklahoma. We got a lot to talk about in the show. We'll get to it in a moment. I have all the stuff here. We're going to talk about it. We're going to go through it, and yes, we're going to talk about the chaos that has unfolded in the college football world. We'll get through all that today. I also have I have everything ready to go with this. We're going to be rocking and rolling today. That's right. We're going to be rocking and rolling. Just let me make sure I have this set up right. And then we will get to the show. Now, so I have everything pulled up here and ready to go. All right. Just want to make sure this is set up. Okay. See, is this correct? Yeah, okay, that's going to be good. We're not doing that today. It's probably going to be later on. All right. Okay. All right, everything's set up. Let's get to it. Move you over here. All right, first up, we got to go over the recap. Before we do anything else, we got to go over the recap. So let's do the recap. And yes, we do have the Alex poll ready to go. We're going to talk about the games. I do have the major games as well. Not all of them. We'll do all that when it comes to the end of the season. We're going to do an entire recap of the season. So if you were looking for stuff like Tulane and whatever they played, or USF and Navy, like not US, or Louisville and Clemson. No, I'm trying to think of the other. Ohio State, UC, like those are all going to be in the end of the season. First, we got two of the biggest games that took place on Saturday, and yes, we do have the Alex poll. And I heard we have a special segment, so keep an eye out for that. Let's get to it. Here in my hand, I have our first paper popper. That's Josh Payton. What if I told you this game? I'm not going to tell you the team. You probably already know who it is. But I'm not going to tell you the team. I'm going to read you the stats. And you tell me who this team is. What if I told you the team that won only had 15 of 23 in passing, ran for 138 yards, had an average of 6.0, and had a QBR of 71.7? What if the other team, what if I told you the other team, they went 28 of 42 on passing, 326 yards of rushing, 7.8 average, 64.4 QBR. The team that won, rushing for only 28 carries and 74 yards, receiving 15 receptions, 138 yards, and had 4 sacks and 0 interceptions for the game. Who do you think that is? You tell me. I'll tell you who it is. It hell ain't Alabama. Oklahoma walks into Tuscaloosa and owns Alabama once more. That's right. Last year it was at Norman. This time they did it away in Tuscaloosa, Bryant Day Stadium. It was a beautiful game. It was very anxiety-like for me but overall, I'd say that game lived up to the hype. However, there was some turnovers, and ultimately, the only reason Oklahoma won this game was the turnovers. So John Mateer was 15 for 23, like I mentioned. All those I mentioned were John Mateer. Wasn't good, but he did what he needed to do to win, and that's how the Oklahoma has been playing is the trenches in time of possession. Well, not time of possession, the trenches and forcing you to play their game. God, it sounds just like Iowa, doesn't it? Except much better and has an offense great enough to surpass the others in the SEC. No hurt to Iowa. We'll get to you in a moment. Ty Simpson he had an off day. Okay, we're just gonna chalk it up to an off day. You can't have an off day against this Oklahoma defense because they'll make you pay for it, and they did. You sure on the internet everyone's been breaking down this game to the T. Alabama won this game power wise, dominant as always. The only reason they lost was because Ty Simpson could not control the ball. And you know what? If he had more control of that ball, maybe Alabama would have been up 14-0 and a half. But that's not what happened. And once again, Kevin DeBoer falls to Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer. Just like last year, you just can't beat them. Not even at home. You can't even win at home. We'll talk about all the playoff stuff later on. Next, we had the game that should have ended, but decided one more fuck you for Carolina was in the making. And honestly, I'm not even gonna paper popper this. When it comes to November, even South Carolina can't escape it. It's like they just have a curse placed on them. Someone should really study this team. I mean, every time you get there, you're right there in the top of the leaderboards, and then you lose your games in the most heartbreaking fashion. It's the equivalent of Penn State losing to Oregon. To UCLA. It's not sorry. It's the same thing as Ohio losing to Michigan. Yes, Michigan is the better team in terms of time of possession, but OU has the better power. It's just flipped around. Whereas South Carolina is the worst, is the better one at playing toe to toe with the big dogs. You just can't close it out. If you want to know an example of why you first never count out Marcel Reed, who, in my opinion, I think deserves the Heisman for this performance. Because what if I told you this game was a blowout at half, 30-3? That's right. You may think to yourself, wasn't that A&M? Nope, that was South Carolina. Norris Sellers had one of his best performances of the year, in my opinion. But then the second half came in. You know what's funny? It felt like LSU all over again for this team. Remember when they went to Death Valley and LSU a couple weeks ago? It feels like it's been a long time since that happened. But it was just like 2 weeks ago that this happened. Maybe 3. Marcel Reed walks into Death Valley and just silences them. It was very close. This sounds like the game that happened against LSU. A&M was not off to their best start at the half, like they've been all year. But in the second half, the performance just kicked up, and they showed why they're number one in the SEC. This was that game, but on steroids. If you're A&M, and this was the most heartbreaking loss I've seen from a team since, I would say, Ohio State. Since Vanderbilt upsetting Alabama. That's the only other game I could think of recently that would be close to this type of a collapse. And that's saying something. If you have to go back so many months ago just to say this game is the same as that game, that's how bad South Carolina was. The final score was 30-31. Norris Sellers had a good start, and then he dropped off. 15 of 30. Marcel Reed was 22 of 39. He was the better quarterback in the second half. North Sowers had some of the best rushing yards of his career. 246 with 1 interception, 2 touchdowns running. But Marcel Reed upped him again. 439, 11.3, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So the North Sowers kept the ball safe. Marcel Reed didn't. But Marcel Reed came back and said, "Hold my beer. I'm about to show you why I'm front runner for the Heisman." And he did it. And when you look at the rushing yards, it was only a matter of time before A&M got the lead back. A&M was 641 rushing to South Carolina's 121. That's right. The team that beat them through the air in the first half got demolished when A&M realized they had a when they had a running option. Their defense, do I even need to say it? Marcel Reed's defense, guess what? 439 to 226 in defensive. And it gets worse. I'm sorry, that was receiving yards. Defense. South Carolina only got 2 sacks of the day on that day. And then Marcel Reed and A&M got 4 sacks. So there's your difference right there. That's how they made it they came back into that ball game. Receiving, like I said, already mentioned, is 226 to 439. A&M had the over in that game. There is a reason they were favored by what they were. And this just gave them all the more. This just showed us more that they are battle tested to come from behind, which they will need in order to beat the teams like Ohio State and maybe Alabama. Right, quick drink break. Okay, back there. Alrighty. Next, we have one of the games that I turned off. Almost thought of turning. I almost turned off in the second half, but I just wanted to see if it would happen, and it clearly should have went with my gut. If you want to know a game if you know one team dominates, that was on. You want to know one team who dominates this in the world of football? Kirby Smart. Do you want to know who beat the fuck out of Texas? Kirby Smart. Georgia. Do I even need to say? I'm just going to pull up the QBs. We're going to pull up the 2 QBs, and then I'll just say it. That's all you need to know. You can probably tell if I'm saying this, you know what I mean. Texas ain't back. We'll get to that in a moment. I'll save this other segment for later on. But Arch Manning, he wasn't the problem. Surprisingly, it was the O-line and the defense that didn't step up. Arch Manning had one of his best days in a while. I mean, looking back at that, what is it? Who did they rout? There was a team they routed, and I don't recall. But, Vanderbilt. Sorry, yeah. Vanderbilt, I mean, looked exactly like he did against Vanderbilt. I meam, one of the better teams. And then his O-line and defense just collapsed. And Gunnar Stockton just might as well walk him up for the Heisman. Ty Simpson ain't getting it, that's for sure. Had 0 interceptions, 24 for 29. Just outplayed the crap out of Texas. And it's the same narrative. Bye-bye, Texas. That's me talking as a Sooner fan. And that is, well, I'm going to say it right now. Texas ain't back. That is the end of Texas's playoff run. They can make a bowl, but they won't be making either the championship or a playoff spot. Unless Oklahoma collapses, Alabama collapses, Georgia collapses, and A&M collapses. But because they're not, if they can't beat Georgia, if they can't handle Georgia, they're not handling Marcel Reed, who's the opposite of Georgia, just offensive. All right, let's talk about this game real quick. I don't really want to go into it because it was. Saturday's always bizarre because you play these games for a reason. This is why. This is why you play the games, folks. This is why you play the games. You don't put your money on anything just yet. You play the games. Georgia Tech, on upset alert against Boston College, they survived the trap game, 36-34. Haynes King did it again. Go over his 26-34, 371 yards, and to Dylan Landry, 362, 26 of, and that was 26 of I think, yeah, 26 of 0, like, sorry, 26 of 10, which, not bad. But here's the difference. If you want to look back at the Alabama and Oklahoma, okay, let's fix this real quick. You cannot see me. I don't know why it's not wanting to work. Okay, why are we not focused? Alright, I gotta go take a restroom break, so I'll be right back. I'm gonna put on a break real quick. I gotta go do something real quick. I'll be right back. Break. I'm on a quick break. All right, we're gonna watch this while we do the show. We're back. All right, like I said, the only thing I'm gonna say about Georgia Tech and Boston College, 2 fumbles. That was the reason Georgia Tech won. Boston College sucks. Georgia Tech somehow beats Georgia. We'll see. Next game. Ooh. It was only a matter of time before he brought it up. He was right. He was correct. Sorry, yeah, I'm watching Squid Tarts. Go subscribe to him weekend while we're doing the show because I was bored. Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you right now. Final score 37-15. Pitt said he could lose by 150. Guess what? That was not as bad, but still a lot. They covered at least, but it was a blowout. Poor QB. Yay, Notre Dame, welcome to the playoffs. Pencilman, they're not going to win another game. If they do, they just suck. Poor QB. Never saw what hit him. Dude got to go in and do the daunting task of destroying the crap out of Notre Dame. Instead, he got destroyed himself. Michigan. Now, this game might have been sneaky highlight of the week. Michigan, Northwestern, 24-22. Michigan survives the upset. Bryce Underwood had one of the best games of his career, 21 for 23, almost a perfect game through the air, 280 receiving yards, 2 interceptions, and had an overall QBR of 84.6. Had a field day except for those 2 INTs, which as he won the game, bullet past it. Preston Stone, not you can tell the better quarterback won, and 13-27 ain't gonna cut it against Michigan, and 184 yards, 0. At least he kept the ball safe, but still. Alright. As I was saying, just Michigan won the battle in the trenches, and that's how they won the game. Alright, let's see, 2 more games. Yeah, I don't have anything to say about this game. There was no way the upset was going to be pulled off unless some miracle happened. Final score 21-26. USC gets the job done versus Iowa. And it was a pretty good game. And then Iowa collapsed like they did against Oregon. Mark had 21 through 12 through 20, 13 yards, 137 rushing yards, 2 TDs and 1 interception. Mavia, 88.7, 23, 32, 254 yards, 1 TD, no interceptions. Iowa rushed for 183, 106. Iowa covered, and the spread covered as well. USC was a favorite, and they won. I'm going to just say this right now. This game's nothing to talk about. Ole Miss in Florida. It's a Lane Kiffin game, folks. You play Lane. This is how Lane Kiffin plays. Next. Okay, we're done with all that. We're done with the recap. Again, everything will be covered in the end of the season recap. We're going to move on to we're going to move on to the Alex Bowl because it is official. We do have the Alex Bowl ready to go. I'm also going to see that Dallas game on. I'm not doing the NFL right now because I'm working on college football and all that because of the next coming week. But I'll get back to the NFL possibly in the postseason. I don't know. I think college football and high school is where I'm going to be staying for this channel. But we'll see. Let me go see. I still going to watch it anyway. Let's just see if it's on anyway. See if it's even on. I can find it. Well, there it is. I think it's on ABC. Could be wrong. Should be on ABC because it's Monday night.
Who likes it?
Yep. Okay. I'm going to keep it on mute. So now that's all. Let's get back to it. Alright. I'm going to bring it up here on. Yeah, I'm going to give you guys the full image itself. Alright, let's pull this up. Here's the Alex poll. We'll go over it together. I know I actually have a graphic this time. And I actually have a better graphic too. Alright. We're going to read it off through here. I have it on paper. I'm going to post this on a video. I'm going to put this in video so you can see it yourself. We're not going to need them. Instead, I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to read this and then I'll show you the stats. Okay. Before you say anything, I'm going to explain when we get done. So I'm just going to read it off right now. Okay. Now this will change if we get on to the week. But here's your Alex poll. I decided to do 31 through 35 because I feel like we should get all the teams in the rankings. Now this is going to look a lot different than last time because we had a lot change. Here is the. Also, I'll show you who my the 12-team playoff is. Going from starting off with the first 7, and yes, these are all by 7, so 7, 21, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. Ohio State. Then I'm just going to read you them from bottom to top. Can you guess who the first? Can you guess who 35 to 28 is? Give you a hint. Some of these teams you may not have seen yet. Rounding it out at 35 in. I'm just going to share this now. Rounding out our. Well, you got that. Just pretend that you don't see any of these. I'm just going to put it up here for you guys. You can see it yourself. I'm going to go ahead and just read them all. So here it is. So actually, you really can't tell because you don't know what they're numbered. 35, I've got Clemson. 28 to 35 is Clemson, Florida State, Boise State, Auburn, Navy, which I actually put them up in a bit. So It's Clemson, Florida State, Boise State, Pitt, Auburn, SMU. Boise State, Pitt, SMU, Auburn, and then your 21 to 28 South Florida, which is going to be up a bit, is Houston, Tennessee, Louisville, Missouri, Virginia, Tennessee, Virginia, South Florida, North Texas, and then so there's your 21 through 28. Around your 21, your top 20 is North Texas is 20, Navy's 19, James Madison is 18, Vanderbilt 17, Utah 16, USC is 15, Michigan is 14, Texas is 13, Miami is, and so there's your 14. And your playoff bracket is, of course, is your teams out looking in. Miami's at 12, BYU's 11. Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. Miami, the teams outside looking in right now is Miami, Cincinnati, and BYU. And that is and that is the last of that. All right. So let's go over here is your playoff. 12. So at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. At number 12, you have Georgia Tech. Tulane's at 11. Oregon's 10. Notre Dame's 9. Alabama's 8. Oklahoma's 7. Texas Tech is 6. Ole Miss is 5. Indiana's 4. Georgia's 3. Texas A&M is 2. Ohio State is still number 1. So, top 4, you can make an argument for either team. But going off of record-wise, A&M and the SEC is going to have a stronger conference, so they're going to have a stronger team than the Big Ten. That's why I have Georgia and Texas A&M ahead of Indiana, because Indiana has not played any tough opponents that Georgia and A&M have played. Ole Miss just behind them, because even though they are a one-loss team, they don't have a head-to-head win over Texas A&M, and they have the head-to-head loss to Georgia. And Indiana's would boot the crap out of them. We all know that. Texas Tech. Now this is interesting. Texas Tech was originally in the previous Bowl 4, I think. Now they moved down a bit, but I have them winning the Big 12 and taking that, hosting the. I'll show it up on Google Slides in a moment. I have them hosting. So does Oklahoma, who gets the 7th seed. They will be hosting an Alabama, despite the loss. I think they will finish the regular season 10-2, and with the losses coming, they'll finish 10-2 and 11-1 in conference. I think their resume is better than Notre Dame, and especially if Oklahoma wins out in their playoffs, that Oklahoma loss looks good. So I have them jumping Notre Dame, and I have them hosting probably Notre Dame or Alabama. Alabama would not get to host in that scenario, because Ole Miss, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and Alabama would be hosting those games, because the first 4 get a bye. So that means we could see Alabama and Notre Dame play each other, which they're the 8 and 9. So they play each other. So it'd be Notre Dame and Alabama. We'll get to that in a moment. Oregon, I have them being the runner-up in the Big Ten, the 3rd place in the Big Ten, Tulane, I have them and Georgia Tech being the group of 5, and the ACE being the 8 group. Georgia Tech being winning out in the ACC. Tulane being the winner of the group of 5. I think that is as close to predicted as you can. Everyone else is just trying to buy a spot. The only 3 teams I see getting into the playoffs at this point, barring a chaotic scenario in Week 13, is Cincinnati, BYU, and Miami. Michigan, if Michigan wins against Ohio State, they're just going to be the playoff. So there's the Alex Bowl. You can complain all you want. It's my thing it's my poll at the end of the day. We try to keep it consistent, and you'll notice teams that do better and win, they get to go up. FanDuel has acquired the moments to play because betting is the one way you can make some good old money, fashion dollar playing your favorite sports. We're coming up to the end of the college football, unfortunately, the end of the regular season. So you better get those odds to win quickly in. Bet them as quick as you can. Go bet them yourself. Over and under. We're going to talk about it. Here's your digital version for all you visual learners. Odds to win. I'll read it off. Ohio State is the clear front runner, 100 plus 185. Indiana is 450. Texas A&M and Georgia are tied at 850. Notre Dame is 1100. Alabama and Oregon and Texas Tech each have the same money line, 1400. Ole Miss plus 1800. 1800. Oklahoma plus 2500. USC and Miami each 7500, and Vanderbilt, Michigan both 15,000 each. Go bet now, but I'll put your stock on Ohio State being the clear front runner, barring Michigan's beatdown. And yeah, they'll beat down Michigan, and it'll be the get over the hump for the first time in 4 years. As all the big stuff taken care of, so we just went through all this paperwork here, and we got it done. All right, we're gonna keep you down here. Let's go ahead and talk about it. The playoff chaos. Oh, this is gonna be the long segment we'll have. We're gonna talk about it. So, here's what is going to happen. The playoff looks something like this, as of right now. Oklahoma wins, Texas loses. The head-to-head would matter if Texas beats A&M, which I don't think so. However, for just the safety of Oklahoma and everyone's anxiety and everyone's heart attack, so no one gets a heart attack for Oklahoma, Texas is out. The head-to-head against the Red River is no longer a factor, and now it's how do you win out? That's it. No, Oklahoma wins out. They are guaranteed a spot in hosting, by the way, a playoff spot. So you got to be happy for Oklahoma. However, they would still have the daunting task of the playoffs ahead. We're going to talk about it because here's the little something you didn't know. Thanks to Oklahoma, the Pandora's box is open. And now we don't know who is in. Got my updated playoff rankings. We're going to talk with the playoff case scenario. Like I said, we're going to come back when we pull it up again. We're going to go back to it again. Which one was it? Here it is. Texas and Georgia. The only true upset we had was this game. Like I said, Texas losing, bye-bye. Same narrative, and Georgia knocks them out of the playoff once again. So here's how it works. It's the circle of death. Well, it's the circle of ownership. Alabama beats Georgia. Georgia beats Texas. Texas beats Oklahoma. Oklahoma beats Alabama. It's funny what the parity works itself out. Georgia goes on to win. Alabama will face most likely either A&M Georgia or Alabama will have to face A&M barring a collapse, which it won't. They'll be facing a red-hot A&M team that has a clutch bone. And either one of those teams will be facing the man, the myth, the legend himself, Marcel Reed, if he beats out either one of those, I think he earns himself to be talked about for the Heisman with Julian Saban. So we'll see. We've got the predictions and stuff again. Everything's scheduled for holiday because after this I'll be off. We'll be able to go back to normal with the show. And the Cowboys and defeating Cowboys. So that's pretty much it for the upsets and stuff. I already talked about that last week. I don't think there's really anything other than that to talk about. That just it's about to get real interesting. And we're gonna see tomorrow instant reaction of the playoff committee. We're gonna see what happened. Everyone's gonna be watching for Alabama. So if you're wondering how the playoff would look, if the season ended right here, here's what the playoff would look like. So let me see if I can move this down a bit. I'm trying to see if I can make it a bit smaller. There we go. That works. So here is your playoff projection. Like I said, Notre Dame and Alabama will play each other. Here's the work. So the first four byes will be Ohio State, Indiana. So Ohio State, A&M, Georgia, and Indiana will get the four byes. And you have Oklahoma hosting Oregon as a 7 and 10. Then you have Ole Miss and hosting Georgia Tech. And then you have Texas Tech hosting Tulane. And who would have guessed this? You have Alabama hosting Notre Dame. After running it through a projector, we have your championships. We'll start off from the top, and we'll go from bottom right. So bottom right, Texas Tech would beat Tulane, so they would move on to face Georgia. OU and Oregon. OU would beat Oregon at home. Huge win for OU. So they would face A&M. Ole Miss would take care of Georgia Tech. So they would face Indiana. Alabama, red hot after Oklahoma. They won't forget. They'll beat the crap out of Notre Dame as revenge. So they will go and face Ohio State. Who would have thought of that? Ohio State having them winning because we saw what happens when they don't have a run game. Ole Miss, Indiana beats Ole Miss. A&M beats OU, unfortunately, and Texas Tech in Georgia falls to Texas Tech. So your finals would be Ohio State facing against Indiana to the rematch of the Big Ten, and A&M and Texas Tech. The Red Star Showdown, I think it's called. And I have A&M winning over Texas Tech, and then A&M in the projection would be your 2025 championship, which would be the most craziest thing. This would be the most surprising thing ever. So here it is again. So here's the projection, here's the prediction, and there's your champion. That's all I got over there. All right, we're gonna quickly wrap things up. I've updated some of my tier list here. We have 3 more things to talk about, and then we're going to talk about high school, and then from there we are going to go ahead and wrap the show up. So without further ado, let's get her rolling. So first off, we have the projected big leaders right now. The conference leaders are right here. SEC leaders: Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss. Big Ten leaders: Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon. Big 12 is Texas Tech, BYU, Cincinnati's. ACC leaders: Georgia Tech and Miami. American is Navy, Tulane, North Texas. And then in the hunt for a leader to lead is Oklahoma, Alabama, and Vanderbilt. Not much more I can say. Here's your top. I'm going to edit this real quick. I would keep an eye on this race right here. I would keep an eye on these two races coming into this week. So keep an eye on those races. Cool. Okay. Goodbye. We have one more to show you, which is my updated playoff stats. And then we have a special segment, and we're going to end off. We're going to end the video. We're going to end the show. We'll end off the show. So yeah, now I can actually finally close this off. Well, not yet. I don't know if you can see it. Alright, let's see. I'm just going to, hopefully you guys can see this. Your playoff locks are, at the moment, barring a total collapse, Ohio State, Indiana, Notre Dame, A&M, Texas Tech. So 2 Big Tens, 1 Independent, 1 SEC, 1 Big 12. Georgia Tech, so 10-1 and you're in. These are the teams that can go 10-1, and if they don't, even if they don't lose and they win out, they go 10-1. They are in. Georgia Tech obviously has to win Pitt, and then they're in. If they win against Pitt, they're in. They can lose to Georgia by 20,000 and still make it in. Georgia, obviously, you have to win out the rest of your way. You can't let the guests out now, which won't be the case. Oregon, you have to win out. You have to be able to play in the Big Ten. The only way you can see you getting in is if you beat UCF and Ohio State loses to Michigan. That's the only way I see you cracking into the top 10 of the playoffs. Ole Miss, lock it in right now, boys. They're playoff bound. Give them one more game against the Egg Bowl, and they are in. Doesn't matter. They're going to win that by 8. So 10-2, you're in. So this is the teams that are going to need to win out. They are required to win out the rest of their schedule in order to be guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. Oklahoma, obviously that win over Alabama sets them up in a prime position for 2 home games against 2 games that were, I believe, on the same schedule last year. They lost to Missouri. They won against LSU. This year, I think it'll be different. They're going to probably win both of those games since it's at home. They got their Alabama, their big road test, and they can do it. So Oklahoma finishes 10-2. They're in because they went through the hardest schedule in the SEC. Period. BYU 10-2. They win. They get over the hump and beat Texas Tech. They beat Cincinnati. They beat Texas Tech in the rematch. The Big 10, the Big 12, they're still in even if they lose to Texas Tech because we don't know how much conference will be weighed. But tomorrow we will figure out that answer when the committee rings. USC, the sneaky one here. All they need to do is beat Oregon and then win out, and they could play in the championship. They could play in the title conference against Ohio State, against Indiana, because Ohio State would lose to Michigan. So it'll be keeping an eye on them. But if they win out, they are in the playoffs. Here's the tightrope of death. So these are the teams that one more loss. That's it. So you'll notice Texas is on here, even though they said they would have. You're like, wait, they're eliminated, right? They're eliminated, but they're not out. The key word is they're eliminated. They're not out of it. They're just eliminated. Let me tell you what can happen here. I said this before, and it would be a miracle if it happened for Texas fans. Right now, Oklahoma is comfortably sitting there 10-2. In order for Red River to factor into the playoff committee, Texas would have to beat Kentucky. They would have to win. Sorry, not Kentucky. They would win their next game, and then they would have to beat A&M, because then that means you have 2 teams who have 2 good ranked wins, and Texas has the tiebreaker because of Red River. So if you're an Oklahoma fan, you're rooting for A&M to beat Texas, because if that's the case, then that officially eliminates them from the playoff race. And if you're a Texas fan, you're rooting that Oklahoma goes 10-2, and then you beat that A&M loses to you, and you beat A&M in the Lone Star Showdown. And if you beat A&M, you will jump Oklahoma because of the head-to-head with the Red River. So again, it's going to come down to rivalry week with Texas. But they're still on the tightrope. They're eliminated from going the easy route, which would be to split the games. So if you lost to Georgia by a small margin, let's say the field goal, you'd probably still be where you'd probably still have a chance, because it was a good loss because you played them toe to toe. We'll see how that affects the committee tomorrow. And then you go on the road and you beat A&M. That loss to Georgia is fine. Then you have the biggest road win in the SEC. You have the biggest win in the SEC, that being A&M, because A&M is still undefeated at this point. So you would hand them their first loss in conference at the end of the season, and that would get you in over Oklahoma. Oklahoma would still be in the playoffs. They just would not be hosting the playoffs. So again, like I said, the chaos is the scenario that can happen for Oklahoma not to be in the playoffs, but not hosting, which is what we want. We want Oklahoma to be hosting a playoff round. Texas would have to beat A&M handily in order for that to come in, because then that head-to-head matters. Otherwise, you're saying head-to-heads don't matter. Alabama lost to Oklahoma. They did what they were supposed to do against Oklahoma. They would be in the driver's seat. They could lose one more game and still make the title and the playoffs. But now that you lost to Oklahoma for the second time in a row, now you're sitting at one. You're sitting 11-1 in conference, and you're sitting at 9-1. Sorry, 9-2. And if you lose to Auburn, which could happen, remember this is played at Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Witchcraft can go on there. We'll see. However, if Auburn gets the jump on you and they're going to be ready to go, they're red hot. Like saw it against Vanderbilt, they can get red hot. If Alabama loses, 9-3, Alabama is not going to get into the playoffs, and that would mean Oklahoma ended the season of Alabama just like last year. It's funny when the parody writes itself. Okay. Quick little drink. All right. I hope that made sense. SMU, the dark horse of the ACC, they can win out. And Vanderbilt, 10-2. You're gonna have to decide where you put them at, committee. We'll see tomorrow. In the hunt, these are the teams that need to win their conference first, and then we'll talk about playoff aspirations. Tulane, North Texas, James Madison, and Navy. Obviously, for the ACC, I have Navy being the front runner in the group of 5, followed by Tulane and North Texas. However, Navy has 2 losses. I don't think they will get in over a 1-loss Tulane and 1-loss North Texas. So I have North Texas and Tulane fighting out in the conference. Tulane wins that, and so that would mean they would go play Texas. Well, sorry if you heard that. Something happened with the dogs. Anyways, as I was saying, I have Tulane winning the American, being the group of 5 representative, and then I have James Madison just being there for James Madison. Navy, I have winning I think there's not going to be, I think Georgia Tech quenches the ACC. I have them winning the title. So it'd be Tulane and Georgia Tech as your group of 5 and ACC representative. Yeah, your group of 5. Sun Belt, American, ACC, and all that. All right, so bye playoffs hope. So these are teams that can make either are or aren't making a bowl, but they're not making the playoffs. play the music. We're gonna play the. We don't. No, we're not. We're just gonna name them off. Let's go one by one. Now I can zoom. Missouri. Bye bye, Missouri. Missouri Falls. Michigan. Stanford. South Carolina. Houston. Michigan State. TCU. NC State. Washington State. Temple. Clemson. West Virginia. Florida State. Colorado State, Washington, Auburn, Purdue, Arkansas, Army, Florida, Duke, South Florida, Virginia Tech, UCLA, UNLV, Baylor, Kansas, Mississippi State, Miami, Iowa, Miami and Michigan until further notice, Iowa, UTSA, LSU, Rutgers, Utah, Arizona, Penn State, Oregon State, Wisconsin, Cincinnati, Kansas State, Boston College, OSU, South Florida, South Texas. What I don't know the name of that. They're out. USF, Northwestern, Maryland, Boise State, UMass. Yeah, UMass, Louisville, Minnesota, Iowa State, Cal, San Jose State, Virginia, Wake Forest. Until further notice, Virginia, you stay there. Pitt, Western Kentucky, Tennessee, Kentucky, Washington Bobcats, Bowling Green, North Carolina, Illinois Air Force, Colorado, LA Tech, Miami, Nebraska, Syracuse, Arizona State, and whatever they are. Good. Those are all the teams that have until further notice. Most of those teams up here for Michigan, the only exceptions are Michigan, Miami. Where are they at? Virginia. Those are the only exceptions, and Utah. All right, and that's it. We're gonna end it off. I've got a special segment for us to talk about, and then we're gonna end off the show. First, I'm going to pull this up. That's right. We're gonna talk a bit of BA. Oh, that's right. We still gotta talk about high school. So yeah, there were some upsets that had. There's only one upset in high school that happened. That would be the Union in Norman, and so that means it'd be Bixby Union. So we're gonna keep an eye on it. Here are the games to keep an eye on for your high school weekend. So, Bixby, Union, Mustang, and BA. Keep an eye on those games. That is your upset watch. That's not going to happen most likely. So, we're going to move on. Right here, I have written a segment for BA because we got to talk about their past. You got to bring up the past if you want to be accountable for your actions. I'll read you this, and we're going to go and be gone. And we're gone. Broken Arrow had been in Oklahoma Secondary Athletic Schools Association OSSA, OSAA, in the OSAA. In the 81 years that it's been around, it has a history of falling short of the big win during the early 1900s to the start of the 2000s. At the start of the 2000s, Broken Arrow made the playoffs 88% of the time. But after 2010, Broken Arrow would take a massive slide and would not make the playoffs until 2017. Broken Arrow fell tragically short yet again and came to the 2018 season. And then came the 2018 season. Broken Arrow would finally make it to the top, beating Jinx in the finals to claim its first title in school history. Broken Arrow would take another fall and would never make the playoffs until 2024, when they would be losing to Deer Creek. And there's more, but I didn't have time to finish it. But just know it would be then they lost to Deer Creek. And now they are poised to take the title once again for the second title to be 2 of 3. So, all right, we've done it. We went through an entire show. We're going to be there for Thanksgiving. Get ready. It's not over yet. Thanksgiving awaits. I'm Alex. We're gone. I'm tired. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good night. Good day. Good night. Good evening. Whenever you see this. Love you all. See you all tomorrow. We're gone. Man, that was awesome. We did it. We did it. We did it.